Well, it is a beautiful day here in the North Woods, and I have been spending it in the woods. We have 14 baits ready to go, and I have been clearing trails. There has been so many storms going through that there are lots of trees and branches and bushes down over the trails, and so spent a lot of time on a four-wheeler with a chainsaw the last couple weeks, and but I got 14 of my bait sites ready to go. I got 16 barrels ready to go, and I'll cover that here in just a second. And then I've got 16 cameras, trail cameras, ready to go. Basically getting ready to go ahead and start putting out the baits on August 12th. So this is vlog number 1, of which I hope will be quite a few of them. I'll be blogging as we go along. Once we start baiting and we get some bears coming on the baits, I'll start showing you some trail camera photos and videos. We have had a very eventful summer here with not with just the storms, but also I've had a rough year. Had a heart attack on June 12th. Been battling cancer. And it's just, I'll go into some more of that, but anyway, I don't want to bog you down with all that. The main thing is that I'm really excited about what's coming up. I've got 5 hunters coming in. You remember Don and Terry from last year. Terry had the tag last year. Don has the tag this year, and they're a really fun couple to have in camp. Don's very excitable and just a cool guy to have in camp. Virgil's going to be here for most of the time, helping out around camp and stuff, because he's not a Minnesota resident. He can't be a guide, but he can still help out with the food and skinning bears and stuff like that. So then I've got other hunters coming, 1 from North Dakota, 2 from South Dakota, and I think that might be it. But anyway, I got some people coming in that should be pretty fun to have a full camp here for this 1 week. And then we're hoping to get some really nice bears on the ground. This year's going to be a little tougher than last year. Last year the bears were just absolutely piling on the baits. You couldn't hardly keep them off the baits. It was real dry in the summer. This year we've had a very wet summer. The mosquitoes have been really bad in the woods. They're getting better now that it's August, but man, in June it was unbelievable. So a lot of things are different, but I'm pretty excited about moving forward here. You know, not only have we had some weird things going on with the weather, but I had a bear in camp that was tearing apart all of my, I had all this bait in barrels that was just sitting right here in camp, right by the road. You know, it's only 150 yards from the road. And a big old bear came in, and he just started tearing things apart and knocked over all the buckets and barrels, and I had squirrels were chewing into all my buckets of trail mix. I had to put them inside the trailer, and then one of them actually got in the trailer and started chewing on a bucket inside the trailer. But this big old bear, he actually got the lid off of one of the steel barrels and ate a bunch of trail mix. So anyway, I had to make some adjustments there, lock a bunch of stuff in the trailer, and haul a bunch of stuff into the garage to protect it from this bear. But I've got a bait that I just established today. I got it all set up out there. It's only half a mile from camp here, and it's on paper company land. There's a pretty good chance that that area is where this bear's been coming from, and so I think we're going to have a chance at him. So we're going to hopefully put him in front of somebody, but he's a big old male. Here's a short segment about the barrels. Well, good morning and welcome to the 2022 vlog, and I'm pretty excited about this year. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to take you guys along for it, and right now it's about 10 days before the baiting season starts, and as you can see, I'm going through barrels, repainting bait barrels. Some of them got pretty scratched up and paint flaky, and then you know, the bears chew on them and scratch them and so forth. So that's one of my projects for today. And I guess I'll answer one question that's probably about to be asked before it gets asked, and that is this: why bother to paint the barrels at all? And I guess there's two answers to that question. The first one is simply that can be people in the woods, there can be four-wheelers going down the trails, there can be grouse hunters and mushroom hunters and berry pickers, and I'm just trying to minimize the number of people that would see a bright blue barrel. Okay, the number two thing is that I guess it adds to the overall experience. And you know, a lot of people come on these hunts, they want to be in the north woods of Minnesota, they want to kind of be in the wilderness, and this is pretty wilderness up here, but I don't want them to feel like they're hunting in a junkyard. And if you got a bright blue poly barrel, then it just kind of takes away from the overall experience. And I'd just prefer not to use barrels, but they really help protect the bait from the weather, and there's just a lot of positive reasons to use barrels, and it's a trade-off that I'm willing to take. That's why I do use the barrels. But there is the aspect of that, you know, I just don't want people to feel like they're, you know, it takes away from the wilderness experience, I guess is what I'm saying. So by camouflaging the barrels, it helps a little bit. So anyway, we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. Stay tuned. Here we go for 2022. So there you have it. That's blog number 1, and very excited about this year, and I'm so grateful that you are following along, and it's going to be fun. We're going to kill some bears. We're going to have some cool people in camp and have a lot of fun, and we're going to eat well, and I'm going to just bring it to you as much as I can. You know, it's a lot of extra work to be hauling a camera around and filming all this, but people really seem to enjoy it, so it's worth the trouble for me. So we will see you on the next video when we're going to be starting to put some baits out. Good morning. It is opening day of bear baiting in Minnesota. It's one of my favorite days of the year, and the sun is just coming up, and I can see that it is really backlighting me because, let me turn it this way a little bit, because it is coming up across the lake. But unfortunately we're not going to see the sun for very long because the forecast is for rain this morning. I've been looking at the radar here, and as you can see, most of it looks like it's going to go by to the south of us, which is good. But Jamie is going to be here in about an hour and a half, and now I've got to introduce you to Jamie here in a little while. But Jamie is a local guy. He lives about 30 minutes from here, and he contacted me on Facebook, and we've talked on the phone quite a bit. He's a guy that's just ate up with bear hunting, and I just decided that since I need the help, I'm gonna take him on sort of, I guess, as an apprentice this year. And he's a pretty good bear hunter in his own right, and he's got his own four-wheeler, and got his equipment and stuff. And if he works out good, probably I'll hire him as a guide. I've talked to him on the phone quite a bit. Seems like a conscientious guy, and just really wants to work. He's willing to work and wants to learn. So we'll see how this goes, but for the meantime, he's going to be helping out during the course of this week, and probably helping put up some tree stands, and you know, helping tote people around to their stands, and basically being a guide this year, I guess. And we were planning to go out at 7:30 this morning. The first bait that we were going to do is about a half an hour away. We're going to start with the farthest ones first. So the baits I'm doing today, I'm hoping to get 8 baits out. My baits are all in groups of 2s and 3s mostly, and that's because usually when I take guys out, it's going to be in 3s, or you know, when one guy gets a bear, the next day it might be 2s or whatever. But it just seems like it works out to have these baits in groups that are 2 to 3 miles apart, most of them. I should clarify that the baits themselves are 2 to 3 miles apart within the group, and then the groups are a little farther apart than that. So there's 2 groups of 3 and a group of 2 that's kind of on the way back from where those 2 sets are. And so hopefully we'll get those 6 done, and then those 2, if we got time, we'll hit those on the way back, and that'll give us 8 for the day, and then we'll have 6 left for tomorrow. You know, Minnesota does not allow you to put things out. You can't put your sign out, you can't put your barrels out or anything like that. You can't prepare the bait sites ahead of time. All I've been able to do is go in, cut the trails with a chainsaw, because there's so many trees down this year that I had to cut quite a bit of trails open to 4-wheeler trails to get to my baits, and then I just marked a tree where I'm going to put the barrel with a ribbon and put them on a GPS. They're all in the Base Map app where I've dropped pins on all these bait sites. So that's what I'm going to show you here in this video, is these 2 days of baiting, and then the next video will hopefully be showing you some trail camera pictures of bears and videos and so forth, and yeah, it should be pretty exciting. My goal is to get these 14 baits going and then kind of drop off some of the ones that aren't quite as consistent or whatever, maybe be down to about 10 baits, so I'm not using up so much bait, but I shouldn't have any trouble getting the 5 hunters their bears off of 10 baits. 2 active baits per hunter is usually plenty, and then that helps save on bait, of course. But the other issue is, the reason I do so many to start with is because I just don't really know which ones are going to be really good. That's one thing, and the other thing is, the more you bait a site, the better it gets. And so I'm actually baiting 14 sites when I don't really need that many, because next year those sites will be better. The bears will keep checking back year after year after year in a place where they found some good food, and so preparing for the future as well, and baiting sites that I won't even be hunting this year, and plan to do that pretty much every year. So what we're baiting with today is, we're putting 4 buckets of bait out per site in the barrel, and then we'll add more to the ones that are really getting hit hard. But in order to be efficient and take less time, we're putting bucket of trail mix, bucket of sweets, and 2 buckets of pastries in the bait barrel right now. And then the ones that are just really getting pounded, we'll load up the whole 30-gallon barrel every time we go in there. As you know, if you've watched my videos and read my books and magazine articles, my strategy has always been to make sure that there is something good for the bears to eat when they come to the bait site. We don't want to be disappointed. We don't want them to go find someone else's bait. We don't want to lose them, so we always want them to be rewarded when they come. We're also going to be putting Gold Rush. We're going to be spraying the Gold Rush and dumping it around. That's the best thing that I've found for getting these baits going fast. We get it up in the trees, we get it on the ground, and it's mixed with fryer oil, and so I got a lot of little buckets. We put probably about a gallon. I'm not a big believer in dumping, 5 gallons of grease at a site. We use about a gallon, and it's spiked pretty heavily with Gold Rush, probably about 3 times the recommended amount, but I like the stuff and I use the heck out of it, so we're going to do that as well. But anyway, that about covers it. We're going to head to the woods here in a little bit, and I'm going to get some breakfast in me, and then when Jamie gets here, hopefully we're going to head out. We're going to watch this weather. It doesn't make sense to go ahead and put baits out when it's about to rain and have your scent that you're putting out all get washed down. So if we need to, we'll wait until the rain stops. But we're going to spend a long, hard day in the woods, and it'll be worth it, because I just really enjoy this and really look forward to this all year. So glad you're along with us, and let's go hit the woods. Well, things did not go as planned since I last talked to you. It is now mid-afternoon, and I have got 6 baits in by myself. And originally I was going to have 2 helpers. My wife was going to be able to help out today. Mostly she was going to run the camera, so we get lots of video footage of putting these baits out today. And then my new guide Jamie was going to help. He was bringing his truck and 4-wheeler, and we were going to be able to put out baits a lot easier. But he texted me this morning, said he's throwing up, very sick, and going back to bed. So I have been putting out baits by myself all day. Carried 6 barrels, 36 buckets, a lot of steps, and I'm going to try to get these last 2 in and go ahead and get the 8 out that I was planning to do. I am putting this old heart to the test. But anyway, I thought what I would do, since I haven't filmed the first 8, just been really hustling trying to get them going, and I thought maybe I would just walk you through one bait. And so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to put this camera on a tripod and self-film doing one bait, and that's kind of what I think will be interesting for you, and I'll kind of explain to you what I'm doing as I go through the process. The mosquitoes are horrible, and one bait that I was at, I couldn't hardly breathe without sucking them in, and I found out you can sweat off mosquito repellent really quickly too. So, okay, shut up, I'm talking too much. Let's go put this bait in and we'll show you how I do it. Okay, in this backpack I got a machete, cordless drill, some lag screws, and my sign. In Minnesota, all your baits have to have a sign of a certain size and got to be put on a tree of a certain height and all that. That goes in here along with a camera. All right, I'm about 1.5 miles from the truck, and this is the bait I call the Big Swamp. And if you remember last year, we actually didn't kill a bear off this bait last year. We had wolf problems on this bait, but there was multiple bears on this bait, and we just didn't need it. We could have definitely shot a couple bears off of it. This is the one that had the brown bear with the bad foot. It's like it was just dragging a foot. This is also the one where my dad wanted to come to a couple baits. He's 85 years old, and he walked into this bait. It's 75 yards that way, and as we just got to the bait, a couple of cubs went up a tree right beside me, and so we just got the heck out of there. So it's about 75 yards that way, like I said, and this is a big swamp out in here. In fact, the tripod on the camera right there is sitting in water. So this is as far as I can go without probably getting stuck with the ATV here. But I'm going to walk back in. I'm going to carry the barrel in. I'm going to carry the buckets of bait in, and we're going to hit it with Gold Rush. I'm going to put the camera up, and all of the things that I do with a bear bait you're going to watch, and I'll kind of explain to you how I do what I do. All right, that is the tree that the tree stand goes in, and You see that ribbon up there? That is the tree that I'm going to put the barrel on. So it's about 17 yards probably. And I also see that there's another tree down there that's going to need to be cleared out a little bit. Okay, just have to go back for 2 more buckets, but wanted to explain what I've done so far. So I came in here, put the camera up, put the camera in position, locked it, cleared the brush between the camera and the barrel. Otherwise you're going to have washouts, or you're not going to be able to see everything you want to see. And so that's an important part of just clearing the brush. And I'm also clearing what's going to be shooting lanes as well with that machete. It's just the easiest way to do it. All right, I'm going to put the barrel on. Alright, I'm putting the barrel on the tree with 3-inch lag screws with washers on them, and then the tree stand is that way. The hole is right here, so hopefully we'll have our bear standing broadside. And the barrel has a hole in the bottom, so I can continue to put new bait on even if it's not gone. For example, I used to put the hole in the side of the barrel, but then if there's a little bit left in the bottom and you come and you put new bait on, pretty soon the bait that's in the bottom just gets rotten because you're covering it up. So I went to putting the hole towards the bottom of the barrel so the bear could get everything out, and I'm always putting the new stuff in on top so it'll flow through in the right order. But then I found out the bears would lay down and feed out of the bottom hole, so now I use a bucket to raise this up so they're more likely to be standing when they're feeding. And I'm trying to increase the odds of a broadside shot for the hunter that's going to be sitting in that tree. All right, that smells absolutely incredible, and it will spread throughout this area. I have no doubt in my mind that a bear can smell that from a couple of miles away. It's going to go through this whole swamp out here, and whichever way the wind's blowing, the bears are going to smell it. And that is how you set up a bear bait. So tomorrow we're going to do 8, 14, yeah, I'm going to have to do 6 more tomorrow. Hopefully I have some help. Hopefully my wife's going to get here today. She ended up working late last night till 10 o'clock, so she's probably going to come up today sometime. So I got to do 1 more bait, then go take a hot shower and relax a little bit. It's been a long, hard day, but I hope this helps you understand why I do the things the way I do, and it's just my system, and it works really well. So hopefully it'll work for you too. I don't mind telling people. I'm all about helping others be successful. That's why I do this. So we'll see you tomorrow. Well, It is day 2 of baiting, and I am alone again today. It's about 8:30. I've been up for a couple hours getting stuff ready, and as you can see, I got different equipment here today. We are going to a couple of baits where I can't get the Polaris Ranger in, just they're a little too tight in there. And I cleared trees from the trails, but there's still just too much. So I got this four-wheeler right here. I'll show you here. We're loaded up. And Jamie texted me at 6 o'clock this morning, said he's going into the hospital for IVs, an IV antibiotic. So my wife is still in Brainerd. She I think today is buying groceries at Costco and Walmart to bring up here for next weekend for bear camp. Got a bunch of family, grandchildren coming up next week. So, all right, let's hit the woods. I got 5 or 6 baits. I don't know if I'm gonna do all 6 of them today. I'm gonna do at least 5, but here we go. Well, here's how Plan B actually works. So I'm on this property here where I've got 3 baits. One is about 2 miles that way, one is about 2 miles that way, and one is about 2 miles that way. So typically, if I had 2 people with four-wheelers, which was the plan, then I'd be able to load up all the baits in the barrels and make a big loop. But because I'm by myself, that means I have to take just the stuff for one bait and go all the way to that one, and then come all the way back and get the stuff, go all the way to that one, and then come all the way back and get the stuff and go all the way to that one. So it's just going to take probably another hour and a half longer than it would with 2 people on 2 wheelers. But as you can see, the way I got this set up here, when I'm using this four-wheeler, this is what it looks like. So off we go. Well, number 12, this is a really pretty spot down in here, and had a big bear on it last year and a small bear, and I didn't eventually end up even hunting this bait. But as you can see, I'm back on the side-by-side. I've got those 3 done that had to be done with the wheeler, and so I got this one, and I'm just going to do one more today. I'll show you around this spot here in a minute so you can get a feel for what this is like down in here. It's really, really cool spot. Well, the weather has just basically been the opposite of what they predicted. They were calling for sunny and then the 70s, lows in the 50s, and then yesterday it was it rained across most of the state. It all pretty much went south of us, but it was very humid and it misted a little bit and overcast. Today's been the same way. Just super humid, light wind from a stable direction, and it's misted off and on, and frankly, you couldn't hardly order better weather for bear baiting, for the scent distribution and helping the bears to enable themselves to pinpoint the location of the source of the scent. So the Gold Rush should really be working amazing the last couple days. And keep in mind that humidity helps the scent carry, and then you got a light wind and a stable direction, so it's just like, it's the best case scenario for bears to find your baits. And there is a lot of natural foods. As I've been out baiting, I have seen a shocking number of raspberries that are still going good. I've seen some chokecherry bushes that are just absolutely sagging with chokecherries. There's tons of hazelnuts. There really aren't any oak trees to speak of in this area, but the few that do, I think they're going to have pretty good crop of acorns. So we're going to be competing with natural foods a lot this year. But anyway, I'm going to get this bait in here, and then I've got the one bait left to do. That's going to be the one that's just a half mile from camp. And if you've been watching these videos, you know about the bear that we've had in camp. And I went out and found a good bait spot to put that bait, and we're going to see if we can get him on camera. But let me grab the camera here. I want to show you this spot. This tree here, of course, is where the barrel's going to go. And then that tree right over there, I'll zoom in on it for you. That's our stand tree. That's where ladder stand's going to go. It's 16, 17 yards away. But look at all the big mature birches in here. And we're right on the shore of a really pretty little lake that's probably too shallow to have any fish in it. But the bears will definitely be around this area. You've got water there. Look at this tree over here. That tree right there, that big pine has got to be a couple of, probably 200 years old at least. So this is an area that hasn't been logged down in here. And that's one of the reasons I chose it. It's not only great for the bears, but it's also very aesthetic. And if I can get that big bear we had last year, if I get him back here, we're going to try to hunt this so somebody can have the experience of being in here. Okay, well, onward. Well, a couple hard days in the woods, and this afternoon the sun came out here and the wind come up a little bit, and I am just relaxing with green caffeine and thinking about all the bears that are going to just start pounding these baits. And probably, you know, out of the 8 I put out yesterday, I'm sure some of them have already been hit. They're in good spots, and some of them are in spots that I have baited previously. So out of the baits that I put out, 5 of them are new this year. And I like to keep adding to them. We had a couple of baits that just didn't do that well last year. That doesn't mean they won't do well in the future, but I didn't bait those, and then I found some new spots. So I've got 13 out. I was going to do 14, and I just kind of ran out of gas because the way this ended up working out, I had to do it all myself. And man, there used to be a time when I could do 10 baits in a day and hardly break a sweat. But at that time, of course, I was doing a lot different. I was just carrying a couple buckets in, covering them up with logs, put up my sign up, and I was done. Now it's a lot more complicated and involved process. I carry in a lot more bait. I'm using the Gold Rush. I'm using a trail camera in a box that's got to be mounted to a tree. You got to put up the barrel and everything, and so it's a lot more time consuming and labor intensive, but people that come here, they expect a quality hunt, and that's what I intend to provide, and that's why I put in the extra effort. But this is about to wrap up this video. We're going to have another video in a couple days. I should have trail camera pictures and videos of some nice bears starting to hit the baits, and so we'll have another video coming out here shortly. I think I'm just going to relax here for a few minutes before I get a hot shower, and then probably go. I see my boat down there tied up to the dock. It's whimpering like it wants somebody to come and put it to work, so maybe I'll go try to catch a walleye for supper. Anyway, thanks for tagging along. A lot more information coming. We have got some good stuff coming up down the road here, and I'll be posting videos regularly, so thanks a lot. Hope you're a subscriber. If you're not, Well, that just wouldn't make any sense now, would it? Talk to you later. What are you guys doing?
Bear baiting?
Bear baiting?
Or putting bear bread in. And I just ate a piece of it.
You ate a piece of it. You should tell the people what we're doing.
We going to bear bait.
We are going out to check the bear baits. Are you
Yep.
excited?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you like bear baiting, don't you?
Yep. I want to see in there higher. I just sprayed the water down to the one.
The bear, he stand up here and he bites. He bit that right there and he bit that bark off.
Why?
The bear could be really close in here. That's why we're just kind of come in here and make a lot of noise. Okay, today I've got some more relatives with me. My daughter Crystal, my granddaughter Tanzin, and we're going to be doing 3 baits here this morning. And we're going to do it all on the side-by-side here this morning. Are you guys excited?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Let's do it.
That's what we like to see, literally. Until it's beat down. This thing is out. All right, just take the top off and dump it out, I guess. That's the last little bit that's in there. Ooh.
Oh,
Sorry.
Tanzin.
All right, the barrel's ready. Okay, see, look at, see how it's all packed now.
A tiny bone.
What'd you find?
A super stupid.
Get it?
What are you spraying, Tanzin?
The bear poop. It has strings on it.
It's full of choke cherry seeds. Yeah, there you go. All right, my next victim, Santi, is from Salamanca, Spain. And he works with my daughter Crystal and her husband Seth as missionaries in Spain. And he has never been to the United States before, and he is about to experience culture shock with bear baiting.
Excitement.
Exactly. And his English is pretty good, so we're communicating pretty well. We got a couple more baits here to check, and we're just enjoying getting to know each other and explaining the principles of conservation and bear hunting in the United States. And there's a little trepidation when he walks into a place with bears, but we're having fun here. His name is Santiago.
Yes.
And we call him Santi, but he's no relation to Santa Claus.
No.
No? Okay. This is a new bait that I call Swampy, and Santiago is experiencing mosquitoes in the nth degree for the first time because they are horrendous in here. That's the tree stand tree back over there, and as you can see, the bait's been worked quite a bit. It's pretty well beat down in front of it, so this is a really, really good area. It's just surrounded by small swamps, and so it should be really good. Well, it's raining outside, and that has kind of been the theme here for the last quite a few days. It's rained some every day, I believe, and the baits have been out a week now. I was going to do a vlog before this, but a couple things have prevented me from doing that. First of all, the baits have been pretty slow, and I wanted to get a lot of pictures of bears to show you, and good quality bears as well. I've got enough to make it worthwhile to do this blog, but also I've just had my lake property camp here just full of relatives. I've got a couple sons, daughter, and 7 grandchildren have been here all week, and I've been taking them to the baits as you saw, and it's just really fun to be able to do that with and involve the grandkids and get them hooked on bear hunting. It's kind of a trade-off taking other people into the baits like that, but it's worth it for me to take family members in and show them how to do it and just kind of get them engaged in the process, and so they get excited about bear hunting and so forth, like I am. And they, as you saw, they really are, and they just love doing this. We've also been able to do some fishing and have caught some fish and had a couple of big fish fries with everybody, and then also just a lot of fun stuff going on around here. 4 of my grandkids decided to form a band, and they called themselves the Flaming Embers and performed for us. It was kind of funny, and just a lot of fun stuff going on with family, sailing and fishing, and then running a few hours of baits every day. So as you can see, we checked a lot of baits, and we had perfect conditions for the first couple days of putting baits out, and then things really went kind of south on us. You know, there's just so much natural food this year. It's just really tough, and we are getting some bears on the baits. I feel really fortunate that I've got 13 baits out, and 11 of them have bears on them. Some of them are not very consistent, some of them are. I talked to some outfitters who are really, really struggling. I know of quite a few hunters who have had baits out for a week and have not got a bear on the baits. I've talked to a couple outfitters who have half of their baits haven't even been hit yet, and the others maybe have 1 or 2 hits. And I've seen some of them are telling me that they have bears that are walking through, sniffing around, not even eating the bait, and just keep right on moving. They're more curious than hungry. So this year is going to be a struggle. You know, I got a good system. I got a lot of bears in this area, and I'm in good locations, so I feel like I'm going to do pretty well and hopefully be able to put a nice bear in front of all my hunters, and I still have confidence in that. Boy, there's a lot of food out there. The amount of raspberries and chokecherries and nuts and acorns and hazelnuts, it's remarkable, really. I don't know if I've seen it this much in the 20 plus years that I've been baiting. Certainly it's going to be a challenging year, but like I said, I'm excited about it, and I love doing this, and I have no doubt that my system is as good as it can be, and so I feel pretty confident that I'm going to be able to help my hunters have a chance at a bear. So I thought the best thing to do here for the next few minutes, the last half of this video, I guess, I'm just going to run some trail camera pictures and some video here so you can see some of the bears. And as you can see, I've got some nice mature males on the baits, that are pretty regular. I've got some smaller bears and sows with cubs, and as you can see, I've got that bear that has the right front foot missing. He's back again at the big swamp bait. That's the only chocolate I got on the baits this year. The thing that's surprising me this year is how many bears I've got that have radio collars. One that has a radio collar, but a whole bunch of them that have tags in their ears. And I'm not sure what these tags mean. I'm sure they're DNR tags, but I'm going to try to learn more about that and pass that information along to you. But I have definitely got bears with bling this year, more than I've ever seen before. So anyway, enjoy the next few minutes of really cool videos of bears just doing what bears do around the baits, and thanks for being along, and we'll talk to you at the very end. So there is some good bears out there, and things are working. They're working like slowly, I guess, much more slowly than I'd like them to. But when I talk to other people, I feel pretty encouraged that I'm doing as well or better than just about anybody else I know. So I'm happy with that. And then I'll try to bring you a vlog here in less than a week, and we'll see how this develops, and I'll kind of bring you an update on how the weather's supposed to change here, and we're not supposed to get as much rain going forward. I hope that's correct. Most of this rain we're getting this week was not predicted, but it sure came in. So leave a comment below, ask a question, whatever. I will do my best to answer the question. I'm in the woods a lot, most every day, but I do try to check questions and comments in the evening. So appreciate it if you engage with this. It really helps the channel grow. And subscribe if you're not already. And we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Just taking a minute here. It's 8:30 in the morning, and I try not to be at my first bait before about 9 o'clock because I don't like to bump bears off the bait in the morning. But I got about 2.5 miles to drive back in here to the first bait, and it's just a beautiful morning. And I just took a second to just look around me, and just such a nice day, and I'm in a beautiful spot and doing the things I love, and just decided to take a deep breath here and thank God for blessing me for what I do, the things that I do that I make a living at. My passions are how I've made my living for the last really 40 years. I am a very, very blessed man, and I don't take it for granted. And just thank you for helping be a part of it, because I couldn't do it without the people who follow me, who read my magazine articles and watch these videos and stuff. Life is good. Life is good. Well, it is a beautiful evening here in Bear Camp. The lake has calmed down, and sun's just going down. It's been a long day in the woods carrying a lot of buckets, and the baits are getting hit pretty good, and I thought I would just give you an update. There have been some changes, mostly good, and I thought I would show you some more trail camera photos and videos. So the baits are getting hit pretty good. I've got a few that are really getting just absolutely pounded. One has got 11 bears on it, but that also includes a sow with 3 cubs and a sow with 2 cubs. I've got some really nice big males on some of the baits, which is pretty exciting, and they're fairly consistent. So right now I'm feeling pretty good about the bears that I've got, because it's tough. I mean, it's tough out there. There's so much food, and a lot of people are telling me that they're really struggling. So I feel pretty fortunate that I've got the bears that I do on the baits. I hear some thunder in the north, and we do have some thunder showers coming in, which is, it just keeps going, man. It's supposed to rain tomorrow too, so it's just what we're dealing with here this year. Some interesting things. First of all, got some more brown bears. I got several. I think I got 4 more chocolates than I had when I put out the last video. I've also got a nice big chocolate male and a black female that have been on this one bait pretty consistently, and they're romping and rolling around like it's June. And I don't know if bears would breed in August. I guess it's possible that maybe this is a young female who has never bred before, and maybe she's coming into heat late. This is definitely what appears to be breeding activity. This is the way they act anyway, just kind of rolling around together, and they're always together. And if you're not aware, bears have a process they call delayed implantation, where they breed in the early summer, and then when the sows go into the den, then the eggs implant on the uterus and begin to grow. So they aren't actually pregnant. Even though they breed in June, they aren't actually pregnant until really November, and then the cubs are born in February. So that's kind of complicated, but I guess that would allow them to pretty much breed all summer, and right up until they go into hibernation, I guess. So anyway, that's I've never seen that on camera before in late August, where I actually have a male and a female that appear to be a breeding pair. So I got an email back from Andy, the bear biologist, about the tagged bears, and Andy's very good about answering questions, super knowledgeable, and he gave me quite a bit of information about some of these bears that have the colored tags in their ears, and also this one sow that has the radio collar on her. And I got a bunch more video of her, as you'll see. He's able to tell by the color and the number of tags and which ear it's in, which bear that is in the pictures. And he went through the video and analyzed them, and did his best to describe which bears and what history they have with them in the video. So I will be bringing that to you in the future, a lot more details on these tagged bears. I've got so many tagged bear this year, I haven't seen this many before. I don't really know why, other than the fact that I'm in an area that's a big part of the DNR's bear study area. So we're going to be sharing information. He's given me information, and of course I'm telling him where the baits are that have these bears on them. So just enjoy these pictures and videos of bears, and you can see why I'm a little more optimistic than I have been. I felt like my last video was a little bit too negative, and it feels a little better today after checking the baits and seeing how many barrels were empty or nearly empty. So we'll see you in the next video. Well, time for another bear camp update. And this is going to be kind of a short one, but we have some pretty exciting things that have been going on. What do you want first? The good news or the other good news? The good news is the bears are still hitting the baits, and we've actually even got some new bears that have come in to some of the baits. So it just keeps getting better. I guess we've lost some bears too. Some bears just kind of move out of the area looking for acorns, and the acorns are starting to drop, but they seem to be a little bit late this year. So we have lost some and gained some bears. Overall, I would say it's probably a gain. The other good news is that we've got most of the stands hung now on the active baits, and had a great weekend. My wife came up and she brought my grandson Skylar, who helped out with several things around camp, and also helped carry buckets and change cards into trail cameras and stuff like that, drive the four-wheeler. For a 10-year-old, he's having a blast. I'm not kidding you. He loves this stuff, and it's kind of fun having him around. Virgil showed up a couple days ago and helped hang tree stands, which is really helpful. My wife has been helpful too. Unfortunately, since the fellow that I hired to be a guide is not able to come to camp, apparently, you know, we're just stuck with what we got here, and we could sure use some more help, but that's, you know, we're gonna have to make do. And so I'm grateful to have Virgil here, and he doesn't seem to mind washing dishes, which is another good thing about having him around. I have a few updates on some of the baits. Another bait that wasn't really doing much that is now getting hit regularly, but it's at night. I'm hoping that bear goes nocturnal. Tomorrow morning I'm taking a tree stand up there and going to check that bait again. And if I have any daylight picture of this nice big bear on camera, I am going to hang the stand. I have one bait that just has been getting hammered by wolves. It's also one of the bait that has the most bears on it, so it hasn't seemed to slow down much. I've seen times when having wolves on a bait slows the bear activity down quite a bit, but in this case it doesn't seem to. So the guys that I have coming into camp, one of them's a left-handed bow hunter, so I hung a stand for a left-handed bow hunter. A couple others they're telling me they're considering whether or not to hunt with a handgun, and I've got some baits that are really close. I'm saying probably 12, a couple of them are in that 12 to 15 yard range, which is a pretty easy shot with a handgun. For most people, probably wouldn't be for me. I'm not very good with a handgun, but I'm not hunting. So regarding that bait that I call the neighborhood bait, which is less than a half a mile from here, and I think it's starting to rain again. I mean, we have been just putting up tree stands and baiting between the rains, and it just keeps raining, and I'm feeling sprinkles right now, so I got to make this short. But the neighborhood bait is about a half mile from camp here, and I had that bear in camp that was just kind of terrorizing my area up there where I keep the barrels and the buckets and stuff like that, and hoping that maybe I would get him on bait, but he hasn't showed up. And those big mature bears, I mean, it was a long shot. I knew it was a long shot. They travel so many miles that who knows where that bear could be right now. It could be 5 miles from here, I don't know. But overall, things are looking pretty good. I mean, really excited about having people come in. It's a very exciting time for me. I'm just pretty jacked up about, you know, putting people out there and giving them a chance to shoot a bear. And I am getting texts from the guys. I know they're really excited too, the people that are coming in. And so we're closing in 4 days, still opening here. So we're going to fill up the baits one more time, and then wait till the hunters arrive, and then we will bait as we put them in the stands, of course. And then also while they're out hunting, we will probably bait a couple of baits. I don't like to bait after 4 o'clock. You know, if you've watched my videos and stuff, you know I really don't like bumping bears off the bait. So if we can get a couple baits done by 4:30 at the absolute latest, we'll probably do that. But anyway, it's really going pretty well, and I've been hearing from people who are really struggling. I talked to a friend who's an outfitter who feeling pretty down because he said, I actually have more people coming in to hunt than I have baits I have confidence putting them on, and I've got baits that are just getting hit really sporadically. And he just was kind of distraught, actually, that he felt like he had to put people on baits where he just didn't feel confident that they had a really good chance of seeing a bear. So it's a tough year, man. There's a lot of your amateur baiters. I mean, there's guys that just don't have bears on their baits. A lot of them. The harvest rate's going to be down this year, no doubt about it in my mind. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed these trail camera pictures, and with the next time I bring you another update, it's going to be when the guys are in camp and we're actually hunting. I got a couple of the guys that are coming in who are planning to video their hunt. I like that idea, and I'll bring that to you. And overall, we're just going to enjoy time in camp. I'm pretty well ready for people. Been doing a lot of work on the food and stuff like that, and getting stuff prepared and getting stuff ready, and some of it I pre-cook. Just to give you a little update on how we do the meals, you might be interested in this. Typically we can be out pretty late at night. It gets dark about 8:30, and the farthest baits away are about an hour from the time you climb out of your stand to the time we're back in camp. And now if I got to track a bear, we got to pull a bear out or whatever, we could have people showing up in camp at 8:45 or 9 o'clock if they're close, or I can be out there bringing somebody back at 10 or 11 and still have to skin bears. And so in the evening at night, what I do is I just have something in a crock pot, so when people get back they can eat something, and they got something hot when they come in out of the stand. And that's typically something like pulled pork in a crock pot they can pull out and put on buns. Virgil makes a killer goulash. We do that one night. There's sloppy joes. I do a shrimp alfredo with noodles. That's really good. You get the idea. That's the type of things. Cowboy stew. Stuff that's easy to do in a crock pot. And since we're up late, we don't eat breakfast very early. That's typically about 8:30. Have a pretty big breakfast. Not everybody likes a big breakfast, but I do make a big breakfast for those that like a big breakfast. I'm a bacon and eggs and hash browns kind of guy, and so that's what we do. And then the big meal of the day we do about 1 to 2 o'clock. Typically about 2 is when we eat that meal. They're not hungry when they head out for the long evening. And that's the big meal. Is going to be, it's like lasagna, or I got a bunch of ribeyes we're going to grill up one day. We're going to have a build your own burger type of thing. So that's the biggest meal of the day. That's the way we eat. But anyway, thank you for following along here. And I will say, by the way, people are asking about the mosquitoes this year because of all the rain. Let me tell you this: at some of the baits, the mosquitoes are pretty bad, and at the rest of them, they're really bad. So it's one of those years, and here comes the rain. So we will talk to you in a few days. Thanks for watching.
Well, we're out running some baits here. We are back in the sticks. There's no doubt about that. And we've got some baits, some bait buckets here that we're gonna set up. So, with all due luck, we will have some bears.
Well, the last hunter went home this morning, and I am relaxing on the deck. Virgil's taking a nap. We spent the day taking tree stands and down and bringing bait sights in, barrels and trail cameras, and we did that most of the day yesterday too, while my son Sterling was the last hunter here. He came in a little later, but we ended up going 4 for 5, and I really think we could have gone 5 for 5. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way. So I thought I'd just walk you through the season from beginning to end. I shot some video, not a lot. None of my hunters shot video other than my son Sterling, who came in a little bit late and actually got the kill on film. But he doesn't like being on YouTube. He doesn't want to be in front of the camera at all, and I honor that and respect that. So I'm going to show you some small parts of his hunt, but he just, yeah, it's, you know, he's just that way, and it's okay. The day one, I did quite a bit of video of taking people out into the stands, and so as you see, as I roll through that, I'll just talk a little bit about why I chose the stands that I did. I had 6 baits that were really going strong with daylight activity, and with 4 hunters that gave me pretty good options. So I had one area that had 3 new baits in it this year, and they were all going pretty good, so I decided to put 3 of the hunters on that. And then another bait that I really wanted to get somebody on, unfortunately, was only about 7-8 miles from camp, and the other ones are about 25 miles, maybe more, from camp. You know, it's a 30-minute drive. Don has hunted with me several times. He hunted, his wife Terry hunted last year here. She had a tag. This year Don had a tag. Don's hunted with me in Ontario, and I just asked him if he would be willing to drive his truck and pull my 4-wheeler on a trailer out to this bait. So that's what we did. He took his truck. Don and Terry sat in the stand. I put him in, and then had Troy with me, and then I headed up to a place that we call the Clear Cut, which is where it's a good place to park and access these other 3 baits that are all about 2.5 miles apart. So we got up there and we put Troy in a stand that had 2 bears on it that were somewhat sporadic, but the activity was more daytime than nighttime. It was a good ladder stand, and he's handgun hunting. It was a close shot on probably 15-16 yards, and I thought his chances of seeing a bear were pretty good. Then I put Mike on a stand that I hung for a left-handed bow hunter. Mike is left-handed and he's bow hunting, so I had to have a specific stand for him. So I put him on a stand that had a ton of bears on it. It had a sow with 2 cubs, a sow with 3 cubs that had a GPS collar on her, had multiple bigger males, a couple of females too. So there was just a lot of bears on that bait. I thought there's a really good chance that he's going to shoot a bear there. Then I had another bait that's about 2 miles from Mike, and it's right off the edge of that Clear Cut that we're parking in, and it had been dead for the first couple weeks of baiting, and then all of a sudden it just blew up, and had a big male on it with 2 blue ear tags, had a female on it, had actually one of the sows with cubs from Mike's bait 2 miles away was going back and forth between that bait, and she's got little cubs. They're this year's cubs. It's just amazing to me that they'll go 2 miles through swamps and over logs and pushing through heavy underbrush and back and forth. One day they'll be on one bait, one day they'll be on another bait, and it kind of blows my mind that they do that, but they do. Mike and Troy and Jason were on those 3 baits, and then Don and Terry were down closer to camp here. I kind of thought it'd be slower activity because it's been cool and it's been rainy a lot and just cool weather, and then all of a sudden it just blew up into upper 80s, and so I thought, well, this is going to slow things down some, but I bet you we're going to have a couple bears to skin. And without a guide, it's just me and Virgil, and I told these guys, hey, you know, if y'all, I'm not going to tell you what bears to shoot. It's a little riskier being selective this year than in a normal year, but if you all shoot a bear, we'll deal with it. We'll figure it out. And so don't let that affect what you decide to shoot or not to shoot. I was absolutely flabbergasted by what happened, so I'm going to roll a short video from the next day. Well, it's day 2, and all 4 hunters are in their stands again. And I know that's not what you're expecting. It certainly wasn't what I was expecting. I'm totally flabbergasted that nobody even saw a bear last night. Now, it was hot. I mean, we've had cool, rainy weather, and then all of a sudden we have a hot, sunny day, and it's in the upper 80s, and I was not expecting. I thought it would be slower, but nobody even saw a bear. So tonight should be different. I think we'll get a couple tonight. I checked the cards, and there was multiple bears at all of the baits that we are hunting in the 24 hours prior to putting people in the stands. So it's bizarre, but that's what happened. And so tonight is the second night of the season, and there's a northwest wind, and the highs in the mid to upper 70s today. It just feels like a comfortable day to sit in the stand, and that is when you see the most bears, is when it's just a comfortable evening. So let's see what happens. Everybody's out there and ready to roll. So as I said, I thought it probably would slow things down. I had no idea that nobody was going to see a bear. So I just kind of analyzed all my options, went through the baits and the trail camera pictures the next day, and I just thought, you know what? We're just going to do an exact repeat. We're just going to go back to the exact same baits. I mean, I had a good strategy. I'm going to stay with it. So when I walked in to put Jason into his bait at the clear cut, I put him in first. I bumped sow with cubs off the bait. I thought, well, shoot. I don't mind having a sow with cubs on the bait. They're kind of like live bait in a way. They do eat a lot of bait, but the other thing is that if they're there and a boar comes in, his attention is focused on them rather than looking around and seeing somebody in a tree stand. And he hears the sounds and he's got all the smells already and everything. So it's really not a bad thing to have a sow with cubs or smaller bears on the bait when the bigger ones come. So the way I had this set up, I was going to pick up Jason first, and then go get Mike, and then I had load up the four-wheelers and everything, and then go get Troy, who is in a different location that I went to with a truck, and so he's going to have to sit in the stand 30 to 45 minutes after legal shooting hour, just wait in the dark for us. So he did that the first night, and then I was going to have to do that again the second night, and I had Virgil up there with me. We're sitting there about 6:30, and all of a sudden we hear a gunshot, and I said, was that coming from the bait where Troy's at? And Virgil's like, it sounded like it was from over there. Turns out there's another couple guys that are baiting very close to us, and they're driving by right by where we're parking and going into their bait. About 5 minutes later, I hear another gunshot, and it's over from a different direction. Since we're standing outside the truck, I'm like, that's definitely Troy that shot that. He shot a nice big sow, and we went in there, recovered that fairly quickly. He was shaking so bad, he said I just couldn't shoot with my handgun, so I put it down, picked up the rifle, and the bear was 20-25 yards behind the bait, and it only went 30 yards probably after the shot. He made a great shot on it, and we recovered that bear. It had 2 red ear tags, and believe it or not, it was on the bait earlier that day, and it was the first time it had been on that bait. Didn't have any other video of that bear on any baits. It was a brand new bear. And when I saw that, I think it was 11:39 if I remember right, that bear was on the bait. And when these bears hit a bait during the day, they come back in the evening almost every time. And so I said, I'll bet you anything that Jason's going to see that bear tonight. Sure enough, he did, and he killed it. I emailed the biologist about the tags, and he told me all kinds of good information about this bear. It's a 4-year-old sow, and I'm going to do an entire video on the tags, so I think you'll be interested in that. You know, it's almost 2 hours before dark, and we got that bear out of there, and we just put it in the back of Virgil's truck and loaded up his 4-wheeler, and I said, take Jason back to camp, start skinning his bear. So that worked out pretty good. Then instead of having to pick up Jason first, I drove in just about 100 yards from where Mike was and sat there till right at dark, shut the side-by-side off, and just waited. And then I went in to get him at dark. So when I went in to get Mike, grabbed him, then I went, loaded up, went and got Troy, and neither one of them had seen a bear, and Don and Terry hadn't seen a bear. And there's so many bears on that bait, Don and Terry, and then lots of daylight pictures. It's over and over and over. That's where the sow and boar that were together all the time, a chocolate boar and the black sow. There was multiple other chocolate bears. I think there's 4 chocolates on that bait. Just baffled me, but anyway, so we got one bear that day. So on day 3, we moved Don, and he decided to sit alone. I also moved the other 2 guys. I put Mike in where Jason H. shot his bear last year, and he wanted to use his climbing stand. There was a good tree in there, I thought, for that. Then I went all the way back into Raspberry, which is way back in, and I put Troy in that. There was a chocolate bear on that. There was another boar, and then a sow with 2 cubs on that bait. So we hadn't hunted it yet, just felt good. I come back out, and then Jason was with me, and he said he wanted to help, and so I said I'm gonna hang a stand up on Lost Lake number 2. So we went in there and hung the stand on Lost Lake number 2, put a ladder in there, because that bait had just kind of taken off in the last couple of days. It had been pretty dead. It's been so sporadic this year. It's really weird how, typically once the bears get on the baits, they're fairly regular, whether they're nocturnal or daytime or whatever, but at least they're fairly regular. This year, sometimes a bait will go without anything on it for 2 or 3 days, and all of a sudden I'll have 2 or 3 bears on it, and then it'll die down again, and it was just really weird this year. I had baits that I would have a bear visit it every 3 or 4 days, and sometimes at night, sometimes in the day, they'd eat a little bit and then just move on. They didn't just stay there and fill up and lay up nearby like we typically do and what we always want them to do. We got back to the truck after hanging that stand, and Mike's at the truck, and he had walked out. He says, I can't get this climber to work in that tree, so I don't know what to do. And I said, well, let's just go put you in that stand we just put up. So we put him in the stand that we just put up, and then we went back and loaded up the 4-wheelers and stuff, and I had a truck, and Jason had a truck, and then next thing you know, I get a text from Mike. He's like, I shot one, and I heard a death moan. Like we had just put him in that stand a few minutes before and just gotten back to the truck to load up the 4-wheeler. So we turned right back around and headed back up there again, and we recovered his bear, put it in the truck with Jason. I said, take it back and tell Virgil to start skinning. So bear number 2 was in the books.
Well, from that piece of an angle, probably. Yeah. Let's see if we can.
So
It probably popped out at some point, and wherever it was.
it's just amazing to me that, look at this blood here, and we never found a speck of blood on the trail.
Isn't that something?
That turned out to be the only bear that was seen that night. So on day 4, I became the vitamin man, 1 a day. So on day 4, my son Sterling came in. I got Troy and Don, and so I got 3 people now. I decided to put Don in a stand that's pretty close to camp here. It's about 5 miles from camp, and it just didn't have really any big bears on it, but it had consistent activity of 1, 2, 3-year-old bears that coming in and out of there fairly regular, and about as consistent as you can expect for a crazy year where there's so much for them to eat in the woods. And then I put Troy on a different stand and put Sterling out there. I think it was about 5:30 when Don texted and says, I got one. So I was just getting ready to load up and head back up to the northern part of the area where Sterling and Troy were at. So when I got up there, I started getting text pictures from Don and Terry and Virgil, and they were recovering Don's bear. I'll show you a little bit about that. Anyway, so they're getting that bear back to camp when I'm getting ready to go in and pick up Sterling and Troy. Sterling didn't see anything, but I got a text from Troy when I was about to go in there, and he said there's a sow with cubs on the bait, and it's dark and I got to walk in, and it's one of the not very fun parts of what I do here. So I'm probably 150 yards away, and when I pulled up to pick him up, I revved up the motor a little bit, and he said that when I did that, the sow started to move off, and two of the cubs really stood at attention and started to, you know, look that way and so forth. And then as I was walking in, I started clapping like that, and I got him out of the tree and down, and got him the heck out of there. That just a dicey situation. The next day is Troy's last day because he's got to leave early, and he says, I want to sit all day. Can I go in the morning? And the big swamp bait where Don and Terry were sitting, we got daylight pictures in there whenever somebody's not in the stand, and so I'm like, I'll put you in the morning. We got up at 5, I put him in there, and I've never done that before, but I'm like, you know what do we got to lose? He's got to leave tomorrow morning. So we put him in there. He sat, I don't know, 14 hours or something like that. Troy did see a total of 4 bears. He had the sow with 2 cubs, and then one evening at the last light, he had a bear come in, and he put the dot from his pistol on it and just didn't feel comfortable making an ethical shot, so he passed up that shot. That put Sterling in the bait where Troy had been the night before, and when I went to pick him up, Sterling texts me and he says there's a sow with cubs on the bait, and here it's a different sow and different cubs. So I had to go into the same bait with difference. This time there's 3 cubs on the bait, and had to spook them off the bait. I did it the same way I did the night before, and then got Sterling the heck out of there, and we headed back, and Troy, he had to go home. Jason went home, Mike went home because he'd already had his bear. So the big swamp bait had been hunted 4 times in 5 days, and I just never do that, but it just seemed crazy that there's bears in there during the day every time nobody's sitting there. I had 2 choices of where to put Sterling. Don had sat down at Sucker Brook, and people came through because there's another bait back in there, and didn't see anything, and I thought maybe I'll put Sterling in there. There's a really big bear on that bait, just a toad, and he had been really consistent, but once we started hunting and people are moving through there, he got real erratic. And then there was another medium-sized bear in there, and I thought, you know what, I just can't understand why we haven't killed a bear on the big swamp, and I can't believe I'm going to put somebody in there 5 days out of 6, but I'm going to put him in there. Put him in there about, I don't know, 4 o'clock, and I pulled the card on the camera, and I says, I'll text you and let you know if there's any bears that have been in here during the day. And unbelievably, there was 5 different bears there between 6:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. when I put him in the stand. And that's the bait where Troy sat the entire day the day before and never saw a bear. And I'm like, how in the world do these bears, they've got to have that stand pegged or something, and it's so thick in there, it's not like they can just come somewhere and sit 50 yards away and look. It's just so thick they can't do it, but they must be circling around and smelling or something. And I'm like, well, now I put Sterling in here, we're just going to have to live with it, because those bears have been in and out of there all day already. There's a pretty good chance a couple of them are going to come back and try to hit the bait again. If they don't, they don't. But so about 6 o'clock, I get a text from Sterling. It says, I shot one. I'm not sure where I hit it, but it's laying over there moaning. And so I'm like, stay put, I'm on my way. Me and Virgil come rushing in there, and you know, he's, I don't know, 15 minutes from camp here, so I brought the sled in there, and we found the arrow. It looked good. I mean, the blood looked good and stuff like that. And we tracked the bear 55 yards, and there's a chocolate, and it's a pretty nice chocolate. It's one of the ones anybody would have been happy to have, and it's pretty exciting for me that he got it. but he doesn't want to be on video or anything like that, so we're minimizing the amount. We filmed everything. So we went 4 for 5, and now that everybody's gone, I just feel really bad that I didn't have another day or two to help Troy get a bear. I just feel confident that we could have got him one. But that's the way things work out, and I hope he comes back and hope he had a good time. We had kind of light eaters in camp, and I probably overfed them, and there's a lot of leftovers in the fridge every day. Just had a tremendous group of guys. It was just so much fun to have the guy. They did quite a bit of fishing out here. It just seemed like every time I turn around, somebody's doing something to help out. They're building a campfire, they're washing dishes, or taking out the trash, or helping fill buckets. And one of my four-wheeler trailers, the lights weren't working properly, and next thing you know, they're out there rewiring my trailer for me. It's just, I couldn't ask for a nicer bunch of guys in camp. So where do we go from here? Virgil and I got all the stands and everything pulled. We got the last of it pulled today. Putting stuff away. Still got quite a bit of sorting to do. Got a little bit of bait left I got to deal with. Got Sterling's bear in the freezer here. That's going to have to be butchered. And I'm headed to Maine in a little over a week, about a week and a half. I'm going on a bear and moose hunt combo in Maine, which I'll also be vlogging. I've got a Ontario tag burning a hole in my pocket that I thought I would probably run up to Ontario if I could find an outfitter that had a slot for me. As you know, that fiasco happened this spring. I bought an Ontario tag. It's still good in the fall, but there's just so much work that's piled up at home. I've only been home twice in almost a month. I mean, 3 days, less than a month. I've only been home twice. And I can do a lot on my laptop here, but it's just been too chaotic, and I got a lot to do. I don't think I'm going to be able to go to Ontario. I just don't know how to make it fit in here. But I got a friend who guides down by where I live, and he guides for a week down there and then comes way up northern Minnesota and guides for a week. And he's like, if I got some baits going in 451 where I can buy a tag over the counter, he said maybe you could use a couple of my baits or something. That's an option. I just texted him and said, give me a call. Let's talk about what that might look like. But the vlogs aren't over by any means. Got 2 whitetail hunts, Iowa and Kansas this year. Virgil's heading out in the morning, and I got quite a bit of more cleaning and putting stuff away to do here. Probably going to try to spend the evening doing some fishing, and then head home maybe tomorrow night or the day after. But thanks for being a subscriber. Thanks for following along, and we got more stuff coming, so we'll see you soon.